Okay, YouTube, Captain Paul here, still in Rome, Italy. Just went out and did a little bit of sightseeing. And now I'm waiting for a night tour of the entire city. So we'll see. I got to get these. I should go get an iron and try and iron my shirt before I leave. Anyway, today I wanted to talk positively because you always hear the negative videos of what it costs, what's happening out there in the market, and what it really costs. And it does cost a lot of money to own and maintain a boat. But the question here is, can you do a boat on a limited budget? And what can you do on a very limited budget? I always say on anything, as long as you have a budget, you can do anything you want. And so these people out here, if somebody wants to do America's Great Loop or just go live on a trawler, you can pick up a trawler in this market today. And I'm going to say anywhere, you could pick one up for $5,000 if you wanted to. It's probably not going to be running, and it's probably going to need some work, but it's how much work you're able to do to get it up and running. Because you can find, I know of one over in the Keys that's been sitting there, it's just practically sunk, and it has a Ford Lehman in it, and supposedly it does run. And that guy was selling that thing for like $5,000. So a young guy could probably get in there, get that engine running, and then go do America's Great Loop or go live on the boat for a very low cost. But you got to have a budget. And that's really what this video is about, because and I want to use like fishing for an example, because if you fish and you can go to Walmart, let's say, and buy buy a fishing pole and go to the beach, go get a fishing license. By the time you're all in for like $150, or you can spend $150,000 or even 1.5 million or even $10 million to go fishing. It just depends. You got to have your budget, because some of these big Viking yachts that we see out here, they can get up there in the $10 million range, and then you can start spending. You can actually spend tens of thousands of dollars on reels, and a lot of these boats have multiple reels, rods, poles, all that stuff, costing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm gonna hear in the comments what you guys think about that. But it's a true story. And so these guys out there with big budgets, big wallets, they can go out there and fish in a little bit fancier gear than a guy that is on a limited budget. That can go fishing, and like I said, anybody can go fishing. You just you can sit on a rock, you can go buy your tackle. Everybody has to get a fishing license, so that's one thing you got to go get. And once you get your fishing license, say it costs $25. I think the last one I got was $25-$30 for local fishing out there in Florida. And once I got that, we're ready to go fishing basically. And when you go to Walmart, spend, I don't know, $100 on a rod and a reel, which I've done, and then buy some bait, and you're ready to go. You're getting a little bit of line, you're ready to go. And you can do that very inexpensive. Same thing on these trawlers and these boats. The problem, you got to be very handy to do something like that and be willing to work on it. The guy that can't work on the engine or can't, then he's going to have to spend more money, but hopefully he saved more money so he can spend more money and buy a better boat, if that makes sense. I want to hear in the comments what you guys think, because I know a lot of you guys, especially a lot of you guys that watch the channel. Chuck, he has the 4788 2001. He got a beautiful one, 900 hours on it, Cummins. Even him though, he called me yesterday or the day before, and he said, Paul, you are absolutely 100% spot on this. Even though I don't even want to call it a newer boat, because it's still pretty old at 2001. You're still past that 20-year mark. But he said, it cost me, everything needs to be replaced. The electronics, every pump, and it's just because the rubbers are wore out from just age. Use doesn't matter, nothing matters. They're just literally just about ready to rot out, and everything needs to be replaced. So every pump, every air conditioner pump, raw water pump, all of that stuff, all the impellers, anything that has rubber in it is ready to be replaced. So your air conditioners have a lot of rubber parts in them, and those parts start to fail and stuff like that at that 20-year mark. But you'd be surprised too. I've seen some pretty amazing deals, and I've actually seen people give away trawlers and stuff like that. So you just got to be the right spot at the right time, and you got to put your own homework into this. You can't. And another problem that I think that runs into a lot of people, especially with the limited resources, such as money, you got to travel, you got to go check these boats out. And some of these guys with a little bit bigger budgets, which I probably deal with, my ideal guy probably spends between $100,000 and $200,000 on a boat, and he probably travels 1 to 4 times looking at boats. And then I talk to guys that only have $25,000 budgets, and I talk to a lot of guys in that $50,000 range. And stuff like that. Most of the buyers that I talk to are cash buyers. I rarely get involved, and I do. We have financed. I'd say half of our boats are financed, but these are usually by guys that when they go to finance the boats, they have the financial means to get the money without having to borrow against the boat. They can borrow against something else, one of their other assets, or money that they have in the bank and stuff like that. So I just want to make it crystal clear that it is possible for anybody to do, whether it's America's Great Loop, whether it's cruising to the Bahamas, or just living aboard the boat. It's getting tougher and tougher, and the reason is because when you see these derelict boats and these people with no money, and they lose the boat in a storm or something like that, they can't move it. It gets more and more challenging, and you guys got to understand that it costs the state or the Marina tons and tons of money to move these boats, and so they're very leery about letting some wreck into their marina. So when you go buy this $5,000 trawler and you try and bring it into a marina, a lot of guys won't let it in the marinas anymore unless the boat looks like it's in really good shape, and you have insurance and everything's up to date. And so and there's a reason for that, and the reason is because it costs these guys, that's a perfect example over at Homeport Marina. I was there for years and years and years. Old wood boat in there. Thing had sunk like 4 times. I always got the oil thing out. The guy never pays his slip rent, and now the marina can't even get him to get it out of there. They give him all kinds of notices saying, "Hey, you got to move the boat. The boat's not allowed here anymore." Blah blah blah. Well, he doesn't have the money to move the boat. He can't move the boat, and he's trying to sell the boat. I remember seeing the price tag on it for $25,000. I probably got a picture on my phone for $25,000. I'm thinking, my God, if you find that guy that's going to pay $25,000 for an old wooden fishing boat that sunk like 5 times in the slip here, probably doesn't even run. I don't know. I want his phone number because I got some other stuff to sell him. But these things happen, and when the marina finally, after years of dealing with this guy, they were able to get rid of the boat at their expense, and they had to take it over to Nelson's Boatyard. Nelson's Boatyard had to dispose of the boat. And who gets the bill for all that? It was a little over $30,000 to dispose of that boat. They had to chop it up and put it in a dumpster, and there's no selling it. There's no nothing. There really wasn't nothing there. There was never nothing there. That's why $25,000. Are you freaking kidding me? And you got to be careful. Even if some guy's giving away a trawler, you got to be very, very careful. I've actually jumped on a few too, where these kids are. This was a younger guy. Can't remember exactly where I was at, but he says, "Hey, can you come look at this?" And I said, "Yeah, let me look." I do remember it was in Daytona Beach, and he said, "Come look at this trawler." And his captain says, "My captain left me. He abandoned me. And look at the great deal I got on this boat." And I get over to the boat and I'm thinking, "There's no great deal here, unless you got it. Even if somebody gave it to you for free, there is no deal here. Not for me anyway." But the kid bought it, and he's insisted that that he can. And unfortunately, like, his captain left him, and there's nothing there. I mean, the boat was a wreck. And, he's trying to talk me into freaking taking the thing. I said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I was really busy at the time too, but there was just no way I wasn't even, I couldn't even entertain it because it was just it was in too rough a shape. And I don't know, he called me literally about 90 days later asking me, do you know anybody that could possibly move it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, I don't, and it's unfortunate that people get involved in some of these boats and what they think is a great deal may not be a great deal, because when you got to start, even buying parts now has gotten really, really expensive. Especially this thing had old Detroits in it. And, Detroits are they're easy to get parts for, but the parts are still very expensive. Just a raw water pump for a 671 is $1,000. The harmonic balancers that you saw me on the other, on the boat that I was just on, it was just those were $400 a piece, and I had to do 2 of them, so that's $800. So, parts they're expensive, and then you got to be able to change those parts. Anyway, I just wanted to be positive for once. I don't always want to be negative. You can go out there if you're smart, and you can figure this out, and you can get something, and you see it all the time. There's a ton of these little YouTube channels that start out, hey, we bought our trawler for $10,000, and here we are doing America's Great Loop. And I've actually met a few of these guys out there, and I pass them and everything like that, and God bless them, and, I wish them the best. But, at the end of the day, they had a budget, they did it, and, a lot of them, even a lot of these guys will complete the loop. Some of them will, and some of them won't. It just depends. And it's just luck of the draw, too. So it's like rolling the dice, because you just never know. I mean, I've seen some of these boats, I've seen some of these $20,000 trawlers that were in actually a lot better. I only paid $25,000 for Southern Estate. So if you use that as an example, I had 2 beautiful motors. You could walk in there, set your sandwich down on the motors. These were running motors. Everything on that boat worked, but the inside was a wreck. I mean, it was just old. Everything in there was old, and everything needed to be replaced. But my God, it had a brand new autopilot, perfectly running generator, perfectly running engines. I just went in and changed all my coolers. I spent probably, after I bought it, I probably spent 20 grand getting it, just ready. And then probably spent another 20 grand buying new furniture. And then in the end, I probably spent probably another $20,000 on new air conditioners and stuff like that. But that was after owning it for like 3 or 4 years. So anyway, you can do it. It is possible. You just got to want it. Once you made up your mind, and once you make the commitment to say, hey, I'm going to do this, then you're going to do it no matter what. And whatever your budget is, and you have to have this budget, you can do it. So anyway, peace out. Remember, live life with no regrets. I do. And if anybody has any questions about anything, please feel free to talk to me, call me. Email me, leave a comment down below. I don't get to all the comments every single time, but I try and answer as many as I can when I get a free chance. Anyway, peace out. Remember, live life with no regret. I do. And thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it.